Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching The Wire. I'm Sravasti Dasgupta. 2 weeks since Operation Sindoor and over a month after the Pahalgam terror attack, we have been seeing a litany of statements by the Bharatiya Janata Party's top leadership, including Prime Minister Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, who have been hailing Operation Sindoor with a series of symbolic statements saying how Operation Sindoor has been used in a way to avenge women, those women who lost their husbands in the Pahalgam terror attack. And a series of statements have been made, whether it's Prime Minister Modi, who has said that it is not blood but hot sindoor that flows in his veins, or Amit Shah, who has said that the world has now seen and India has shown to the world the value of ek chutki sindoor. Now, even as all this is going on and the BJP's top leadership is hailing Operation Sindoor as a way of, as a means and ways by which women have been avenged, here in India, we are also seeing that a series of other statements have been made, often by BJP leaders themselves, which have not received any attention, acknowledgement, or any kind of reprimanding by the BJP's top leadership. On Monday, we saw a Delhi court has accepted the cancellation report of a POXO case filed against former BJP MP Brij Bhushan Singh. Now, Brij Bhushan, remember, is a six-time BJP MP, though he was denied a ticket in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, and that came after the 2023 wrestlers' protests, which also saw silence from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Apart from that, there have been several other comments, whether it is Madhya Pradesh Minister Vijay Shah, who equated Colonel Sofia Qureshi as the sister of terrorists, or Rajya Sabha MP from the BJP, Ramchandra Jangra, who said that women in Pahalgam lacked bravery, and that is why the terrorists were able to overcome them. These statements that have been made by the Bharatiya Janata Party leaders have not seen any kind of action by the by the top leadership of the party. So, what does this mean when the party itself claims to proclaim that Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao? To discuss all this, I'm being joined by Anusha Ravi Sood. She is editor at South First. Thank you so much, Anusha, for joining us.
Thank you, Shavasti. Good to be here.
Let's get started with Brij Bhushan Singh. The fact that the court in Delhi on Monday has accepted the cancellation report in the POXO case that he was facing. Of course, he continues to face the sexual harassment case relating to the case filed by 5 women wrestlers. That is still underway. We know that the POXO case cancellation report comes, of course, on the heels of the fact that the woman had withdrawn her allegations against him. But it's been almost 2 years, and there has been absolute silence from the BJP's top leadership on Brij Bhushan Singh, and he has faced no kind of action from the party itself. How do you see these developments?
These developments I see as the trend. This is the common, this is the normal. Whenever there is an issue that is controversial, that requires the party to take a stance, the party has often refused to. And you may say that this is similar, or this is perhaps true of all political parties, especially when it comes to leaders who are extremely important for their political, for their electoral gains, let me say, for their political relevance as well as electoral gains. For every party, there are some leaders who absolutely become indispensable in several regions. And for the BJP, it seems Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh is one such leader. The fact that it took so many of our medal-winning, internationally acclaimed wrestlers to come together and protest, to even initiate action in whatever little form it was in fact extremely shameful. What should have been due process of law required civil society's intervention, for the police to act, for the Wrestling Federation to act. And even after all of this, the BJP, like you pointed out, has refused to acknowledge. Perhaps a lot of leaders might insist that not giving him a ticket to contest this time was them taking action instead of showing their opposition in words. But that argument does not hold true, for the simple fact that the candidate that they ultimately chose was his proxy. So, as far as perception goes, the messaging is very, very, very clear. I suppose the party puts its electoral prospects far higher in the list of priorities than following, or then probably taking moral responsibility, or taking disciplinary action against leaders from the party who are accused of excessively bad behavior or misdemeanor.
Yeah, as you were of course saying that he was his son Karan Bhushan Singh, who was the made the candidate last year when we were reporting from Kaizarganj, where Brij Bhushan has been the MP for 6 consecutive terms. We saw that posters included Brij Bhushan himself. So it was not that he was out of the campaign, and everybody that we spoke to over there were absolutely in acknowledgement of the fact that the kind of hold that he has over the sway that he has over that area. He's referred to as Netaji. We've seen his sons posting on Twitter that this has been a victory, the fact that the cancellation report has been accepted by court. But let's also talk about, if we're talking about inaction, let's talk about the fact that BJP leader and chief whip of the opposition in the Karnataka Legislative Council, N. Ravi Kumar, has been booked for charges including inciting hatred against Muslims over his Pakistan remark against one IS officer, that is Fawzia Tarannum. Now, he had accused Tarannum of working on orders of the Congress party and had said that she seems to have come from Pakistan. Now, could you tell us a little bit about the case that he's facing, and do you think that this action has been taken against him in Karnataka because that's an opposition ruled state, and because, as we were noting earlier, this is not specific to the BJP, it carries to all parties. So would you say that this action that N. Ravi Kumar is facing is because he's in the opposition in that state?
Well, I hope not, because irrespective of which party is in power, for the statements he has made, he law should take its course, and there actually should be some concrete action, at least if nothing, at least an investigation into the statements that he's made. It shouldn't, in an ideal world, matter whether it is an opposition rule state or whether it is a BJP rule state, because law applies to all, as we say. But that is in an idealistic world. To answer your question very specifically, I do believe that this action comes in Karnataka, which is a Congress rule state, specifically because this is a leader of the BJP, and the BJP is in the opposition in Karnataka. And more importantly, the government has actually taken a stance to back its own officer, because this comment, you may call it misogynistic, which it is. It is misogynistic in nature, it is communal in nature, and it is pretty directly an abuse. A person in position of power is abusing a woman Muslim IS officer who's simply discharging her duties. You may have 100 issues with the officer, but there was no reason to make this entire thing communal, bitter, reeks of bigotry. The government here has decided that they will back their officer, and from the chief minister to the deputy chief minister, IS Association, including senior bureaucrats of Karnataka, have posted, have shown solidarity with the IS officer against the BJP MLC's statement. So the case against him, like you pointed out, is for making communally inflammatory statements, also attacking an officer who's simply discharging her duties. Initially, in your first question too, when I answered, I said this is the norm. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh is not an exception. This is the norm, and with MLC Ravi Kumar also, you see the same norm being applied. It's been days since the statement was made, at least 2 days since the statement was made. A case has been registered against him. The IS Association has demanded that he apologize to this officer, but he has received not even a rap on the knuckle by the party. There's not a single leader of the BJP who said, our MLC should not have said something. Forget taking action. There is not even a word of condemnation against the MLC. And let's remember, the BJP is not a party that is afraid of taking action against anybody. Even as we speak, just today, on Tuesday, the BJP has suspended or removed two of its MLAs from the party for indiscipline. Shivram Hebar and ST Somshekhar, these two MLAs have been sent away from the party for the next 6 years on disciplinary lines. So it's not like the party does not believe in taking action. It's just that the party picks and chooses who it wants to take action against and for what context.
And since you're talking about that, let's also show our viewers two other statements that have been kind of in the news in the last couple of weeks. This is, of course, in the backdrop of the of Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor. We saw in the during the press conference briefings during the operation Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh were fronting these briefings, in fact, and that was portrayed by the government as a strong message that India stands for equality. And the Pahalgam terror attack, where men were killed in front of women and children, it was supposed to be a very strong message. But after that, take a look at two different leaders. One is Vijay Shah, which we will be playing first, where he refers to Colonel Sophia Qureshi and kind of equates her as sister of terrorists, and that will be followed by Rajya Sabha MP Jangra, who says that the women in Pahalgam should have fought back and they lacked bravery. Take a listen to these two sound bites.
जिन्होंने हमारी बेटियों के सिंदूर उजाड़े थे, वही कटे पिटे लोगों को हमने उन्हीं की बहन भेज करके उनकी ऐसी की तैसी करवाई। एक बार मोदी जी के लिए जोरदार ताली बजाएं। उन्होंने कपड़े उतार उतार के हमारे हिंदुओं को मारा और मोदी जी ने उनकी बहन को उनकी ऐसी की तैसी करने हमारे जहाज से उनके घर। अब मोदी जी कपड़े तो उतार नहीं सकते थे, इसलिए उनके समाज की बहन को भेजा कि तुमने हमारी बहनों को अगर विधवा किया है तो तुम्हारे समाज की बहन आके तुम्हें नंगा करके छोड़ेगी। देश का सम्मान, मान सम्मान और हमारी बहनों का सुहाग का बदला तुम्हारी जाति की समाज की बहनों को पाकिस्तान भेजकर अगर कोई ले सकता है, और उन्होंने कहा था घर में घुस के मारो, घर में घुस।
अगर वहां पर हमारे पिलग्रिम्स, वहां पर हमारे यात्री अगर वो ट्रेनिंग पास किए हुए होते तो 3 उग्रवादी 26 आदमियों को नहीं मार सकते थे। जिसके हाथ में जो कुछ भी आता, चाहे लाठी, चाहे डंडा, चाहे कुछ भी, और वो चारों तरफ से लेकर उनकी तरफ दौड़ते, तो दावा करता हूं 5 या 6 कैजुअल्टी हो सकती थी, वो तीनों वो भी मारे जाते। लेकिन हाथ जोड़ने से कोई छोड़ता नहीं। हमारे आदमी वहां पर हाथ जोड़ के मारे गए। जो व्यक्ति मारने के लिए आए हैं, जिनके अंदर दया का भाव नहीं है, हाथ जोड़ने से कैसे माफ करते हैं? उनका तो अहिल्याबाई की तरह प्रतिकार करना होगा। और अगर वहां पर जो हमारी वीरांगनाएं बहन थी, जिनकी मांग का सिंदूर छीन लिया गया, अगर उन्होंने अहिल्याबाई का इतिहास पढ़ा होता तो उनके सामने उनके पति को कोई निरपराध इस तरह से गोली नहीं मार सकता था, चाहे वो भी शहीद हो जाए। वीरांगना का भाव नहीं था, जोश नहीं था, जज्बा नहीं था, दिल नहीं था, इसलिए हाथ जोड़ के गोली का शिकार हुआ। इसीलिए ये संग्राम का इतिहास पढ़ाने की परंपरा भारत देश में 2014 के बाद हमारे यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री ने शुरू की, ताकि हमारे देश की हर नारी, उसके अंदर अहिल्याबाई का जज्बा हो, उसके अंदर झांसी की वीर रानी का जज्बा हो। अगर वो धर्म के ऊपर चले तो वो सावित्री बने, मदालसा बने।
All right, so you heard those two statements. Now, Anusha, I want to come back to you on this. That on one hand, we are seeing that the BJP's top leadership, Modi, Amit Shah, and just continuous campaigning, even on social media. We have seen posters on streets where Modi has been posing with Operation Sindoor as a campaign, pitching around that. We have seen him in an Air Force uniform, in a G suit, for instance. And apart from that, we have seen just in the last week, Modi has been campaigning in various places, whether it's Gujarat or upcoming in Bihar. And Amit Shah too have been talking about how the women have been avenged through Operation Sindoor. And then we have these kind of statements which find no kind of reprimanding from the leadership. What kind of messaging is this?
We should also remember that as part of these roadshows are also the family members of Colonel Sophia Qureshi, the same woman against whom a BJP minister in Madhya Pradesh makes an extremely insulting remark, and the BJP does nothing. Instead of taking any action against him, in fact, what is even worse is the fact that the Supreme Court has to step in and remind him that what he said is not acceptable, to such an extent that even an apology that he wanted to submit to the court was unwilling to accept it, because there is some limit to some decency that should be involved in public discourse, and he had breached all limits of that decency. And while the BJP or the leaders of the BJP don't condemn the statement by their own minister in Madhya Pradesh, they find all the time, the government finds all the time to reach out to the family members of the same Colonel Sofia Qureshi and ensure that they participate in the Prime Minister's roadshow. It is honestly a travesty. It's ironic, I could say, but it definitely is a travesty that we are not able to, uh, even though we are able to call out the hypocrisy in it, there is nothing much that the party wants anybody to do about it. Forget taking responsibility, but not even acknowledging that there is this huge gap between what is being said and what is being not acted upon. The same mindset is what trickles down. You saw the horrible trolling of Lieutenant Vinay Narwal's wife, Himanshi Narwal, simply because she called for peace. It is the same ecosystem that takes a cue from the leadership that thinks it is okay. If the leadership abuses a colonel of the Indian Army, the entire ecosystem thinks it's also all right for them to take cracks or pass jibes at victims or survivors of Pahalgam. That's what you saw in the case of Himanshi Narwal. And it shouldn't honestly come as a surprise to anybody because this is not new. This is the norm. In fact, if they can go after our own foreign secretary's family, and the government does not do anything. Look at the huge difference between how the governments have reacted. Here in Karnataka is a government that is standing by its officer, showing solidarity with its officer who has been publicly humiliated by a BJP MLC, calling her a Pakistani. And then you have the union government who made our foreign secretary the face of the post Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor briefings. And when he was attacked, his family was attacked, not a single person from the government stood in solidarity with the officer to say, you know what, we are backing you. That probably is the difference between a government, a party taking accountability or at least showing solidarity with its own officers and the lack of it or not doing the same.
But this, I would say that this is not just to take a step back. This is not something new in Indian politics. We have seen over the years, we saw in 2012 after the Nirbhaya rape case, a series of comments were made by then Congress leaders, whether it was dented and painted women who were protesting after the rape case took place, or whether it was in 2014 Mulayam Singh's comments on rape and or even Khap Panchayat members in Haryana who said that equated rape with women eating chow mein. So it's been an endemic problem in Indian politics, and one that has not changed over the years with different parties coming to power. So we've seen that in the last week or so, interestingly, the Haryana Commission for Women took note of a Facebook post made by Ashoka University professor Ali Khan Mahmudabad, and it was essentially an anti-war post, but that was made into an anti-women post, and he was then taken into custody. But in the present case of the Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. Jangra, there has been no response from the Haryana Women Commission. And so is there also an element of institutions being captured, the National Commission of Women not saying anything, the Haryana Commission for Women selectively pursuing cases? In order for us to move forward, institutions need to be able to act independently.
Every single institution in this country is deemed to be autonomous. It may be a wing of the government, but it has some responsibilities, powers that are generally deemed to be autonomous. But over the years, what we have seen is more than capturing institutions, I believe that several institutions have aligned themselves, or people have been appointed to important positions in several institutions, people who know will ultimately align with the powers that be, so that there is no mismatch between what a government wants and what any of these institutions want. So more, whether you call it capturing of an institution, whether you call it institution willingly surrendering to the party in power, both of them have been something we have been seeing over the last few years. You pointed to several other political party leaders who have made such statements, who have been accused of abuse, who have been accused of assault previously too. All of that is true. It is a pan-party problem. More so problematic when it is leaders of a party like the Congress that is led, or to a large part was led by a woman, Miss Sonia Gandhi. A lot of criticism that comes against Congress leaders who make such abusive statement is also simply that they come from a party that is held by a woman, and yet there is so much misogyny, so much patriarchy, and so much distasteful remarks about women. There are leaders who have so casually made statements like boys will be boys when it comes
Yeah.
to issues of sexual harassment, of sexual abuse of women. So there is no doubt. Let's take, for example, another instance from Karnataka. A former MP of the JDS who continues to remain in jail, Prajwal Revanna, for a series of sexual assaults that were also videographed and later made public. In this case, too, while Prajwal Revanna was removed from the party just as the JDS was aligning with the BJP, you don't. BJP insisted that the JDS take action against Prajwal Revanna, which ultimately led to him being expelled from the party right before the Lok Sabha elections. But the same BJP is refusing to take any action against its MLA, Muniratna, who's right now on bail on charges of rape. But while he is out on bail on charges of rape, he is accused of gang rape by another woman, and a second FIR of gang rape is registered against him. And you're right when you say this is a problem that is pan party. Every single party has leaders who have made problematic statements, who have indulged in problematic behavior, who have been accused of abuse, harassment, etc. But I do believe to an extent that there are some parties that force, coerce, convince their leaders to take responsibility, respond to it, react to it, at least acknowledge to an extent of saying we don't condone such behavior. The lack of even acknowledgement of the kind of statements that are coming from the BJP's leadership or leaders. There is no acknowledgement, there is no condemnation, it's simply as if you ignore it and the problem will go away. That kind of ostrich-like behavior, I suppose, is the problem. And it is more problematic when the party is in power because of course, a party in power has far more influence, is taken far more seriously, has far more presence than the opposition parties. So, by like that, like they say, the more responsibility, then you should also, the more power you have, you should also have that much responsibility. I think this mismatch between the power you wield and the responsibility you refuse to take is the problem in these situations.
And I just want to tell our viewers an interesting data point in this regard, that in August 2024, the Association for Democratic Reforms, which is an election a watchdog body, now they took out a report after the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, which found that as many as 151 sitting MPs and MLAs have declared cases relating to crimes against women. This is according to their election affidavits, where they have to declare the cases that they're facing. Now, over there, we found, the ADR found that West Bengal has the highest numbers of lawmakers facing such cases. But also, interestingly, what Anusha was just mentioning, that the BJP, with the party in power, also has the highest influence. So, according to parties, the BJP has the highest number of representatives, 54 MPs and MLAs with declared cases relating to crimes against women, which is followed by the Congress with 23 and the TDP with 17. Now, remember, the TDP is also in alliance with the BJP in the union government. So, a final word, Anusha, we are seeing that it's not just a party specific problem. Of course, the BJP has a higher responsibility because it is in power in so many states, it is in power in the union government. But in just taking off from this data point, could an example perhaps be set by not giving tickets to such such candidates who have declared cases of crimes against women, and just not 151 sitting MPs and MLAs not just face crimes against women, 16 have been charged with rape, and yet these people have been given tickets and they are public representatives at the moment.
In an ideal world, like you said, the party, especially a party like the BJP that has such a huge missionary, you have crores of people who are your cadres, you have leaders who are very influential in their regions, you have the topmost leadership of the BJP that is often complimented and is often appreciated for having the best political minds in the country today. Given all of these things, ideally, the BJP should have no trouble denying tickets to those who have been accused of rape, who have been accused of crimes against women. Absolutely shouldn't be a problem. But like every other party, the BJP is also a political party, perhaps more so invested in electoral returns and electoral gains. So when they sit down to assess the kind of gains and losses they will probably encounter if they deny or give tickets to certain candidates. Ultimately, in the number game, I think the BJP also would only prefer candidates who will win them seats. If not that particular candidate, then a proxy of that candidate. And we've seen examples like this multiple times, even in the case of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, like you pointed out. So ultimately, it's a win. It's a great political slogan to say Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. But if you do not want to put it in practice, then you're pretty much reducing that slogan to what it is, just a set of words, a catchy phrase, and nothing else.
All right. On that note, Anusha, thank you so much for joining us and to our viewers for watching. And an interesting point to end with the fact that you can make slogans of Beti Bachao, and you can give many speeches promising to have avenged women. But unless you act against those who are deriding women, these slogans remain hollow. Thank you to our viewers for watching.